Just doing a follow-up video for my review of Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. So this review is kind of related to I say modern dating and things like that. Um, so something else that I really enjoyed about the film, it didn't show him as like this heartless monster who was really just wanting to off everybody for his own selfish needs, but it actually showed him, you know, being reflective and actually still thinking about other people, you know, before the act even takes over, because he wasn't naturally, he's not naturally, you know, an offer, you know, if you understand what I'm saying, or a serial deleter. He wasn't he wasn't like this, right? So, you know, he's never done that before, really. And, you know, the only, can I say, experience he had is with his grandfather, uh in like the Korean War and stuff like that. So essentially, you know, you're kind of taken into, you know, the beginnings of him starting to, you know, get the idea to delete somebody. And one of the other things that I really enjoyed, it showed the woman's side as well as the man's side. And like, you see, but like it was a person, that he was about to off or delete or whatever, and you kind of see his backstory, and it starts to mirror the main character's backstory a lot. So, you know, Bong Hyun's character, he actually feels very empathetic with the characters he's about to off or delete, right? And uh, it was a particular scene, and essentially, um, his wife was telling him, you know, Byung Hyun's wife was telling him, "Hey, we got to sell the house. We got to sell the house. We got to do this," and essentially, um, Byung Hyun wouldn't listen, right? Byung Hyun wouldn't listen, and what made it funny was that whenever he was about to delete this character, this other character's wife mirrored the same sentiment to that character as well. And when Byung Hun's character was listening to him, you know, he understood his wife in that moment in which he was about to off that character. And it, you know, it was kind of like this full circle moment of how he was handling being unemployed versus how the next man was handling being unemployed. And it really wasn't the fact of the man being unemployed, it was actually how the men were handling being unemployed. Because basically, you know, well, you know, a lot of people, right? Like a lot of people who come from these high status positions, it's like, oh, I just can't imagine working a blue collar job ever again, or I can't imagine only making $20,000 a year when I was making $100,000 a year, something like that, right? So basically, it's like I'd rather I'd rather just sit and do nothing versus actually try to make this thing work. And that's the thing that was killing the relationships. It wasn't the fact that they really were just like unemployable or anything like that, but it was what what made them unemployable or kind of insufferable to a sense was that, oh, I'm too good for this, or I'm too good for that. I can only get this type of job, or I can only get this type of job. And that really kind of taught me something too, because it's like, wow, like what if you did have to really restart the hustle and bustle, you know, like how would you deal with it? You know, how would you really deal with it? Um is, would you be able to take something that was half of your last paycheck, or half of your salary? Would you become a shell of your former self? you know and that's essentially what happens. Is not really them, like, can I say, it's not really the woman changing per se, but it's can I say, it's the man changing, essentially himself to fit the situation. Instead of just going with the punches, we just, oh, I'm accepting this is my fate, and I'm just gonna die like this. And that's what I really liked about it. It really showed how a man would deal with that, because to me, that's exactly how I would kind of deal with stuff like that too. Like, I would like, nah, I'm waiting to get the next best job, but the next best job might not come for a long time unless you make your own luck, and make it where it's no other choice, of, like the movie said, and create your own luck, you know, and that's exactly what happened. Um, and like Byung Hun's wife, the main character, like Byung Hun plays the main character of Yu Man Soo, and essentially, it's a handsome looking man by Korean standards, or just standards in general, right? And then his wife also she looks good, but she was a baby mama whenever he met her, right? So he took on the baby father role, and essentially, once he lost his job, you got all these suspicions as a man that start to set in, right? And those same suspicions, they start to manifest themselves in the movie, right? So, just like any man, you like, if you're unemployed, and if it's any man with any type of, you know, ilk about himself, you're gonna start being low key suspicious of him, right? You're gonna be like, man, is this guy? Maybe he's gonna start moving in on my lady or something like that, right? And essentially, everybody becomes a threat whenever you, as a man, become unemployed. Like, this man's a threat, that man's a threat, and he may not even. Here's the whole thing, as I'm watching it from the woman's perspective, he may not be a threat. you know it's just that your sensitivity as a man gets so heightened that it starts to affect her. So then the relationship becomes unbearable, because you don't know if this guy's making a pass at your wife and things like that. And uh Byung Hun's character, he was so empathetic with one of the characters he was about to off. He tried to prevent him from walking in on his wife with, you know, some other guy, that type of thing. So he was just like, hey, don't go in your house, and he didn't say it because he didn't want the character to know he was watching him, but he said some stuff like, hey, go back, you got better reception over here. And then, you know, essentially he was trying to save him a double heartache of, you know, losing his job and then losing his wife, to someone else, because it's easy for a man's mind to go there if he is unemployed, So that's why I think that's also why a lot of men don't want to get married, because it's kind of like you're used to being the lion, but then you automatically become the gazelle. You see what I'm saying? So, and essentially, your hands are tied, and you can only do so much. So, like psychologically, your mind, it's basically, can I say, infantile, or it's really, it's just gone basically. you're just a shell of your former self. And he really tried to save the character from double heartache because of what his wife was in there doing and stuff like that. And I found that, like, that was one of the best moments in the film, because he wasn't just a monster killing everybody like that. He genuinely had no other choice. And for him, he tried to make it where he didn't have no other choice, because essentially that's where he was going. If he would have, once he saw that, that put him in that same mindset of having no other choice, and essentially, you know, his wife was kind of strange anyway. Like, Byung Hun's character, Yu Man Soo, like, because he was stalking in the woods, so he he got bit by a snake, and the character's wife, who he was about to assassinate or whatever, um, she essentially started sucking on his leg, like, and I was like, and then the main character's wife called him while the other character's wife was sucking on his leg, right? And it was like this awkward moment, and it was pure cinema. It was pure cinema, right? And it was really cinema gold, man. Like, essentially, like, you on the phone with your wife, and it's like, what are you doing right now? Well, it's like, I'm getting some leg from another wife, who her husband, I'm about to off or whatever, right? So it's like you're trying to hide stuff from your wife, and then you're trying to, like, get the poison out your leg, and this other random wife is sucking blood out of your leg, and it was this weird, awkward moment. The movie did very well at creating these awkward moments for the audience, that it just made you feel, it put you right there in that character's, and I say, it puts you in that character's position in the forefront. I really, really did like that.